I'm going to ask you a question. Do you have like a hobby or a thing you do for fun? Anybody have something like that? Okay. Any golfers in the room? Golf? A couple? Or one, two? I've never even swung a golf club, so that's not me. Fishermen or hunters, anything like that? Anybody do those? Okay. Some of the same people. Some of you are like, I ain't going to raise my hand anymore, he says. Okay. I'll get some more people involved. Shopping people? Shopping for fun? Okay, well, it's a female hands. Okay. I saw some people raising other people's hands. Some of the men build their wallet get a little smaller on that question, all right? I don't know what you do for fun. We all do different things maybe. Something I used to love to do, I have not done it, I realized, since before I had kids, so it's been a long time. But I used to love to play this little game called paintball. I don't know if you've ever played this. It's a lot of fun. I used to even do it with the teenagers some, and we go out. We actually went in the woods back here and played, and one of my favorite things was sneaking up behind one of them, and I was like, hey, you fell asleep on Wednesday night during my message, and I pop them real good and make sure they're awake. So just keep in mind, if you fall asleep this morning, I am armed and ready, and so don't let that happen. But so we went out back here and we were playing, and it was a group of teenagers, and I was playing with I had another leader on my team, Stephen Piles. Some of you might know him. And so Stephen was on my team, and we were playing this game. It was called Capture the Flag. And so what you do, or the way we played it, was we put one flag in the middle of our playing area, and your team had to try and get the flag and bring it back to your base. And before they got it, brought to theirs. So Stephen's on our team, and he has this idea that he's just going to leave his gun, and he goes, I got this great plan. I'm going to put my gun down. I'm going to run as fast as I can and grab that flag and then run back before they get a chance. And I was like, I like this idea because I'm not the one running out in the open, okay? It's him. And so he had this idea, he's going to do this. So he did. He put it down, and he ran as fast as he could. He grabbed that flag, and he turned. And as soon as he made that turn, he turned orange, okay? I mean, it's like bam, 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 bam. All these paintballs just hit him. He was out, okay? He had to drop the flag. And so the plan failed really, really badly. But here's the thing. We actually won the game. Because it wasn't all about the plan, it was about a greater goal, okay? And even though our plan failed, we kept pursuing that thing that we were supposed to do. I was reading some stuff about military and things, and there's a term, and there's different ones that they might use, but one of them is the commander's intent, okay? And that is, this is what that is. It's a clear and concise statement of what a force must do. So, I mean, in paintball, it was we must get the flag. Okay, that was it. But for them, it's a clear and concise statement of what a force must do, or it succinctly describes what constitutes success for the operation. So they may have whatever various things that they're trying to do. It could be, hey, we need to take this hill, destroy this bunker, rescue these hostages, whatever it is. There's a thing that they must do. And if they don't accomplish that, there's not success. And they may have plans, we're going to send these troops over this way and the helicopters. I don't really know anything about all that. But they're going to have these plans that they're going to do. But here's the thing about battle. It doesn't always go according to plan, okay? And so when the plans didn't work, they're able to continue fighting for the success of the operation because they know what the ultimate thing is. And the plans aren't the main thing. There's something that they're going for and trying to do, okay? So let's not stop using shooting illustrations. Any Cowboy fans? Any Cowboy fans? A few? Okay, it's easier to be a Cowboy fan this year. We'll see today, but after last week. But anyways, and so I was actually a really big Tony Romo fan back in the day. Maybe there's a few of you. My favorite thing about Tony was when the play fell apart, he could just make something. That was when he was best. I have a vivid memory of this play where he was in the shotgun and they snapped the ball and it just goes right over his head. And he turned around and started chasing it. He accidentally kicked it. It went 15 yards back behind. He picks the ball up. Here comes the defender at him. He spin moved the defender, threw it 30-something yards for a first down. I was like, that was so fun. It was so good. And here's the thing. I know that the plan was not snap the ball over Romo's head, okay, and do all that other stuff. But he knew when the plan fell, I'm sure the plan was snap it, throw it to Witten. That's what it always was. But I don't know, when the plan fell apart, okay, he knew what he must do. He must get the ball to that marker. That is what we have to do. That is success for this play, is to get it to that point. And I'm bringing this idea of commander's intent because I want to ask us a question, and that is, what is our commander's intent? Now I'm talking about Christ. What is the main thing? What is it that let me just ask it real clearly. What is it a Christian must do? Like at the end of the day, when you've got all your plans and all the things that you want to accomplish and you want to do, though, what is it as a Christian that you and I must do? And what is it? What is success for a Christian? And we have all different ways we might define success in our life, but when it comes to being a follower of Jesus, what is success? How do we know we're living in the success and the plans that he has for us? So I want us to discover that. And I call it the ultimate pursuit. If you like to take notes, you can write Ultimate Pursuit Part 1, okay? Because next week is Part 2. I'm back next week, okay? So if the crowd's smaller, I'm going to know I should have done something different. But anyway, so Part 1 of this pursuit is the ultimate pursuit of our life, and it is our commander's intent. Now, if you would not classify yourself as a Christian, a follower of Jesus, I'm really glad that you're listening, okay? Or maybe watching online, because I want you to know what is the main thing for a believer. For somebody that's following Jesus, you need to know what it is. Because maybe you've seen some Christians and they will have forgotten about this thing that we're supposed to be doing. And you're like, I don't want that. But if you know, I want you to see what it really is, what we really are about. And so if we are a Christian, though, this is going to be the main thing. So we're going to look in Mark chapter 12. Jesus is talking to some people and they're like debating with him and asking him questions. And then so we're going to step in the middle of this conversation and what's going on. And it says, one of the teachers of the law came and heard them debating. Noticing that Jesus had given them a good answer, he asked, of all the commandments, which is the most important? He's like, man, Jesus seems to be really smart. He's answering everything right. So I'm going to ask him, this is really important to me. What is the biggest, what is the greatest, what is the most important commandment? And they had a lot of commandments, okay? And so he says, hey, which is the most important? So Jesus answers, this is what he says. The most important one, answered Jesus, is this. And now he's actually quoting from Deuteronomy, okay, from the Old Testament. He says, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. And then he says the greatest commandment. He says, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind, with all your strength. The second is this, love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these. Now, when I read this, most of you have probably heard it, and you're not like, wow, this is going to be deep, okay? Wow, okay, yeah. Of course. It's not like a big wow thing, but here's what I want to point out, okay? There's a big difference between knowing something and living that thing out. You probably know what it takes to be in really great shape. Okay, you know what it takes. You've heard of these things called weights that people lift, okay? You've heard of treadmills, okay? Some of you have one that holds your clothes, okay? You've heard of these things. You've heard of green vegetables, okay? I mean, I've been with our young adults, and I've watched them, if we've been at a restaurant, try to, like, encouraging them to eat them, and literally have a piece of broccoli and shaking on the way to their mouth. I'm like, guys, it has butter and salt. It's almost candy. Like, what is wrong with you? But okay, here's the thing. We know what it takes, but actually getting in shape and being physical, all that is different, okay? And I think we read this and go, oh yeah, I know, love God, love people. I know that, love God, love people. But living it out to its fullest is something totally different than just knowing it. I mean, of course, everybody, people I meet, oh, I love everybody. I mean, I love the people over there in that country, and I love these people, and I love them. I can't stand the people in my house, but, I can't stand these people at work, but I love everybody. And we do that, I think, with God. I mean, yeah, I love God, but we don't really know what that really means sometimes and how deep that really is. And so I want us to discover how great this first love is. And it's important that we understand these two things. Because when you go to one of the two, you get an error. I've known some people, and maybe you've known them before, they loved the Lord, but they were miserable to be around. You know what I mean? They loved the Lord, but they seemed to just hate everybody else. Their favorite thing is to talk about other people's sins and what they're doing wrong and all that. And they seemed to love the Lord, but they didn't seem to love others, and we need to get the second, because loving others is one of the primary ways that we fulfill the first. But I'll tell you what is kind of more of a current problem is that we just completely skip the first one and act like it's only about loving other people. That we love others to the exclusion of loving God. And in fact, we even take it so far, I've heard it taken so far as like, well, as long as you're just loving everybody, it doesn't really matter what you do. And so we accept any lifestyle, any belief system, any worldview, whatever it is, we're gonna accept that and believe that because we're loving them. We're just gonna love them. That's all that matters. No, well, our love for God informs and determines the way that we love others. And if we're not doing this, then we are not doing this command. You might have some love of others that you've created in your head, but if it's not coming from our love for God, then we're not truly loving as His command is to love, okay? And so we need to learn. So what I want to do is we're going to look at this first, the greatest command. If you haven't figured out what next week is, but okay, part 2. command too, okay? But I want to talk about this great love that we should have and that we can have. And I want to hopefully challenge you to realize it may be more than you think it is. In fact, I think that Jesus thought it was a big deal. Jesus described this love at one point, and it's almost offensive the way that he describes it. So let me show you. This is in Luke chapter 14. He says, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his father and mother and his wife and children, his brothers and sisters, yes, even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Now, is he talking about hating your family? I mean, there's some people going, hate my brother, all right. But is he telling us that you need to hate the people that are in your life? Of course he is not. This is a hyperbole, this is a contrast, a comparison kind of a thing. That if we were to look at our love for him and we were to look at our love for others, that his love would seem so great that it would look like hate. Okay? And let me give you an example based on something I do hate. Okay? I hate onions. Raw onions, I loathe them, okay? I think I've talked about it here before. I just bring this up in case you ever have me over for dinner. You won't have it on the table. But I hate them. I can't stand the way they smell. They smell like armpit, and y'all know it's true. And so okay, if they are deep fried in batter, I can eat them. Other than that, I don't like onions. And so I love, my wife likes them, okay? So sometimes she'll actually eat them for lunch when I'm not home. But here's the thing, though. She'll eat them, and then she'll eat dinner, and then she'll brush her teeth, and then we'll be in bed, and she'll try to give me a kiss, and I'll go, did you have onions today? She's like, how did you tell? I was like, they stink, okay? And so here's the thing. If you were to look at my love for my kids and for my wife, except for when she has onions, okay, and you look at my hate for onions, you can see the difference, okay? I mean, it's almost too ridiculous to even compare. Okay, if you were to see our love for God, when people see the way we respond and react to him, and then they see the way we love others, it should look that different. It should be dramatic. They would go, wow, their love for God is so, not that I'm hating them, okay? I don't want to get that. I love my family. I love others, okay? That is the second command. But the first one is so much greater in that love that we have for him, that it is all-encompassing. In fact, he even says this, even his own life. Even your own life. I mean, there's this, okay, he's not saying, well, I just hate my life. I hate my life. You don't want to be around that person, okay? And that's not what we're saying, okay? But in comparison to our love for him, our own life is as nothing. And it goes totally against this idea that you will hear, live out your life or your truth or your way. Just live out what makes you, okay, no, I'm living out what he has. In fact, my love for him is so great, you're going to look at me and go, why don't you do something for you? It's like, because it's all about him, okay? And it's that great, that is the comparison that he is giving us when it comes to our love for him. So I want to go back to Mark chapter 12 and just look at what Jesus said is the greatest commandment one more time and just understand it deeper, because we need to really see what it means to love him. It says, love the Lord your God with all your heart. And I just want to talk about that, the heart. You can do something half-heartedly or wholeheartedly. Do you know what it means to do something half-heartedly? So I was listening to some teenagers the other day in the youth room, and they were arguing about whose room was the messiest. Something like, oh, you got to see my room. It is totally a disaster. No, you have no idea how bad my room is. I'm like, is this a real conversation we're having right now? What does it do with your mom? Because my mom would not let that be my room. She'd come in there and say, clean that room and make your bed. And I'm like, I'm getting back into bed. What does it matter? But and here's the thing. When I cleaned my room, I did it half-heartedly most of the time. That means I just went in and I shoved everything under the bed, into the closet, and slammed got the door closed, however I did, half-hearted, okay? This may be surprising to you. I was not very athletic in high school. I did just do some sports. So when the coach would say run, if he wasn't looking, I was running kind of like this, okay? It was a very half-hearted kind of a thing. On the other extreme, you can see wholeheartedness in people. Like if you think about those Olympic athletes, they're like incredible to me. Think about the people that run the 100-yard dash. They were like 6 years old, and their parents were out there go, run, run, run. They're running that 100 yards every single day from the time they're 6 until they go to that thing. They've never had ice cream. They've never had dessert. They've never been on a date. They've never did anything else. They run and they train and they train. Why? So then they can run that 100-yard dash and get beat by Bolt. And to do that, and then hopefully to get that medal, to get that prize. And here's something you need to know. When we go wholeheartedly, we're not just getting a temporary medal. We're getting a prize that is a deep and meaningful relationship with God. And it's that we go wholeheartedly after him. But the other issue of our heart is that we have a divided heart. The heart is where our desires are. And we have this, we begin to divide our heart when we pursue and we have desires outside of him. And I was just trying to think about this point a lot yesterday, and I was like, man, how do you talk about, because it sounds unreal to say, all of my desires are for the Lord. Because I desire my family, right? I have desires for different things and that, but all of my desires the Lord, all of my heart is His. And here's what you need to see. I can love my family and be completely, wholeheartedly for the Lord. There are things that I cannot do and be wholeheartedly for the Lord. There is a very much misused verse in Scripture that talks about this. It says, delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. Now, some have read this and will go, oh, so if I just delight, whatever that means, delight in the Lord, then anything I want, He'll give me. No. This is this. I empty out my desires, and He gives me the desires of my heart, okay? He is going to put the desires in me. So here's an example. I desire to be faithful to my wife. I desire that. Now, I believe that is a desire that comes from God. Because I can tell you, there are a lot of people in this world, they do not desire to be faithful to their wife. They desire to not get caught being unfaithful to their wife, but that's not their desire. It is a desire that comes from Him. And so what I want is the desires from Him to come into my heart. Now look, you can have a desire to be successful at your job. If, though, in the pursuit of that desire, you have to cheat people or lie to people or deceive or do things that are immoral, listen, now you have a divided heart. Your heart is more into my success than to serving God and loving Him. It is a wholehearted thing that we live where I have no part of my heart that goes to anything else. So we love the Lord with all of our heart and with all of your soul. With all of your soul. Now, I am going to hit all four of these, but I just want to make a point, okay? I don't think Jesus was like, I'm giving you the 4 points of love, because really, they kind of all overlap. Okay, I mean, because your heart is your desires, and it's kind of where your will is, and then your soul is your mind and your will and your emotions, and my emotions are kind of in my heart, and then there's your mind, which is kind of in your soul, okay? And so what I'm saying, it's just you. That's really what He's saying. It's all of you. Whatever you want to think of yourself, your mind, your heart, your will, whatever that is, He's talking about all of you. So when I think about soul, one of the primary things is your will. And then you have this will and this desire, the will of what you're going to do. And I want to submit my will to Him, all of it, all of my will. And now we do this. We understand, we talk about, I'm going to love somebody. I might do things for them that I wouldn't normally do, right? If you have your family, there are things that you do for your family that you wouldn't do if it wasn't for them. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I have bought things for my wife that I would have never bought, never even dreamed of buying until we got married, okay? Before we got married, I had one bottle of shampoo. It cost 99 cents, and it lasted me an entire year, okay? Now, we got like 14, 20, I don't know, bottles in the shower, and I don't even want to know how much some of those things cost, okay? They are insane. And I'm like, what do these do? Like, I had the one. Okay, and so but here's the thing, I don't mind buying that stuff for her, okay? Because I love her, okay? And I do things, I buy things, do things, because of my love for her. Now this is kind of a weak illustration for this, but I'm going to live my life for God because I love Him. I'm going to put aside what I would have done because I love Him. I'm going to do things that I would have never done because I love Him. I'm submitting my whole will to Him. Now, if you don't think that is challenging, you don't understand what I'm saying. If you think that you are accomplishing this right now, you don't understand what I'm saying, because I fail in these areas all the time where my heart is, my desires are split, or my will gets focused on me and making this and accomplishing this and whatever it is. And what I'm trying to say is we are always pursuing more love for Him. Or when we find the areas where our heart is divided, where our will is divided, and we put it back onto Him. And He says, with all of your mind. That we want to love Him with our mind. I heard someone say one time, it was an atheist trying to make fun of some Christians, and he said, well, if to be a believer, you have to just turn off your brain, because you can't use your brain and have faith. And that is the furthest thing from the truth. We're supposed to love the Lord with our mind, to learn more about Him and to study Him and to grow in our understanding of Him and His ways and His creation. It is good for us to do those things. And we want to keep Him on our mind. Now, this is, like I said, this is Jesus quoting from Deuteronomy. So I just wanted to show you really quick what it says. This is Deuteronomy 6, verse 5. It says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength. Okay, sound familiar? It says, these commandments that I give you today are to be upon your hearts. And He says, impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, while you lie down and when you get up. Tie them as symbols around your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on your door frames and on your houses and on your gates. Why is he saying to write them these places and do all this? Why? Because he wants them to see it all the time. He wants them to be reminded of him and to think about his ways and to think about their love. And he says to talk about it. He says when you're walking down the road, okay, when you're driving down the road, that we're going to talk about him. I think it is sad sometimes that there is 1 hour a week when we think about and talk about God. And you're in it right now. And then if we leave this place and he's never in our conversation, we are missing out on a deeper love with him. I mean, that we can't even get in the car and then think about talking to him about him and what is going on with our love for him. And it should be something that we talk about. Okay, and I'm going to rabbit trail for 30 seconds for the parents, okay? Because when I read this yesterday, it just stuck on me. It says, impress them on your children. Because there are some attitudes that say, well, you just need to let your kids discover what they want to discover and build their own faith, and that is the biggest lie from the devil. And your primary job as a parent is just to impress the love of God onto your kids. And if you don't do that, I got to be honest with you, that's the biggest failure that we could have. I don't want anything more than for my kids to love the Lord with all their heart, soul, mind, and strength. Now, I can't force them. Okay, but I can impress it on them. And the primary way to do that, by the way, is living it yourself. But we want to show it, teach it to them, and live it for them. And so it needs to be on our mind. And one more thing on that. Sometimes we need to not just try to be putting it into our mind. We need to be careful about other stuff that we're letting come into our mind. I have kids now, and so this is kind of a whole new thing where I really think about what they're watching and listening to and those things. And I know, like, if they're going to watch a movie, I want to know what's in it, okay? First of all, if there's something scary in it, I know I'm going to have 2 weeks of, I can't sleep, okay? And I don't want to deal with that, okay? And so I got to think what's going into their mind is important. But as they grow, and now there's, there's going to be opportunities for language and sexuality and all this kind of stuff. And so I see it as more, my job is to protect their minds, right, as the parent. Okay, you should protect your mind too. Just because you're an adult doesn't mean your mind doesn't need to be protected, okay? I am very active with this in my life. There are apps that I use that I have deleted that everybody I know uses because they pollute my mind, okay? And you need to look at yourself and say, hey, is this causing my heart and my mind to be more in love with God, or is it actually pulling me away from him? And there may be some of us that are entertaining ourselves in ways that are actually hurting our love for God. And so we need to have all of our mind after him. And then he says, with all of your strength. That literally with the things that I do, with my energy, it's for him. And that sounds a little bit maybe overkill, all of my energy, until you realize that you can do everything that you do for him. Paul wrote to some slaves, and he said this. He said, to do your work for the Lord, not for your master. I mean, they're literally out there probably plowing some fields, right? Or I don't know how to demonstrate plowing. I've never done it. Okay, plowing some fields. And he's saying, you're doing that for the Lord. And you do the same. Whatever you do every day, when you go to work, you are doing it for him. When I was a teacher before I was a youth pastor, I worked in a high school. I felt like I was doing that for the Lord, okay? I was teaching them and I wanted to be a light in that place. And I couldn't get up in front of the kids and tell them about Jesus, but I can tell you this, I lived in such a way that after school they would come and talk to me about Jesus and ask me questions and different things. So I was a light to them and in that place, and you can be a light in your job. And if you're raising kids, guess what? You're raising your kids for the Lord. It is something that you are doing and you are working for them. And so all of my strength. Now this is so big. This is all of us. This is all of who we are. And if you get this, it will begin to dramatically affect the way you do and live everything. It'll dramatically affect your decisions. Whenever something comes in conflict with your love for God, you're going to choose your love for God. I don't know if you've ever known somebody that was like way too into something. I had a friend who was all into basketball, and that was it. I mean, it was all about basketball. He watched basketball. He played basketball. He read magazines on basketball, statistics. Is there a fantasy basketball? He probably did that. I don't even know. But everything was basketball with him, okay? And so if you were to say, hey, do you want to go do this or play basketball? Guess what he's going to say? Basketball. Do you want to watch the game or do you want to watch this movie? The game, okay? It was always that. It was an easy choice for him. Okay. Here's the way this is for us. Am I going to do this thing or am I going to love God? Easy. Am I going to pursue this desire or my desire for the Lord? Easy. I'm going to choose the thing that is him. Here, I'll put it this way. I would not sell out my kids for anything. You could, I would not sell my kids for anything. No amount. You could give me all of Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos' money combined, and I'm still not going to sell my kids. In fact, if I lost my kids, I would pay anything to get them back. There is nothing that I would not give to try to get them. But how about this sad truth? That we sell out our love for God for a little moment, for a little thing here, for a little pleasure, for a little something, and we sell that out for so many different things, for a momentary distraction, and we forget about that. I want to go completely after him with my love. And why would we do this? Well, Jesus tells us a little story of why. It's a one verse illustration, which is a great one, okay? He says, the kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field. When a man found it, he hid it again, and then when his joy, he went, sold all he had, and bought that field. So I always try to just imagine the story when I hear one, and because I'm a youth pastor, I picture some people out in the field playing with a Frisbee, and then have that one friend who can't throw it like we have in our youth group, and they throw it, and it goes way over, and he runs over to get it, and he's like, oh, there's a treasure. He finds something and he doesn't tell anybody. And he goes and he immediately begins to sell all of his stuff. And people are like, but you love that thing. Why are you selling that? That's your house. Why are you selling? Why are you selling everything that you have? This doesn't make any sense. But there's like a smile on his face. He's so excited. Why? Because he goes and he buys that. And then he has this amazing treasure that was worth more than all of the stuff that he had ever had before. And this is the image he has for you. That there are some that would look and go, why would you not live like that? Don't you know everybody makes that? Don't you know this is the way things? Why would you give that up? Why would you stop doing that? Why would you give that up? And what you will realize is that you have found a treasure that is a deep, real, meaningful relationship with God where he is guiding you every single step of the way. It is a treasure that you find. And what it hurts for me is that so many people don't know this treasure. That so many people don't live and get this treasure because they never truly pursue him like they can. So I want to just finish our time together and talk about how we grow our love for him. Because this is a lifelong pursuit that we have, and all of us can grow this love. All of us need to develop this love. And the way that this is going to happen, by the way, is it's going to be through relationship. Love deepens. Your love for him will deepen in relationship. This happens with your relationships with your family and with others. Like when I met my wife back when, I thought she was very attractive, okay? I thought she was very pretty. And so I wanted to get to know her, and I started to get to know her, and guess what? As I got to know her, I started to love her. And then we got married, and my love has grown for her as I've gotten to know her. One time after we'd been married for a while, she said to me one day, do you love me more now than when we first got married? And I said, yeah, of course I do. And she goes, why didn't you love me that much back then? And I was like, I don't like this question. It's a tricky one. But she knows this. Of course I love her more now because I know her more now. I know her deeper now. She knows me more now and deeper now. And this is going to be the way it is with you and the Lord. Your love for him will grow as you deepen your relationship with him. So to understand how to do this, I want to look at one more quick passage. It's in Revelation. And in this part of Revelation, there are different letters written to different churches. And they're messages from Jesus to these churches. And this one's to the church of Ephesus, where you got Ephesians, the book of Ephesians. So it's a message to them. And they are in a situation that I think that many of us can find ourselves in. Especially, I think some of us that have been in church for a long time. But this is a place where we might find ourselves from time to time. He says, I know your deeds, your hard work, and your perseverance. I know that you cannot tolerate wicked men, that you have tested those who claim to be apostles, but are not, and have found them to be false. You have persevered and have endured hardships for my name, and have not grown weary. So, okay, he's starting out, this is really good stuff. There's false teachers coming in, you're like, no, we're not going to put up with that. There's persecution, and you just keep on going. I can't even imagine the persecution that these kind of people went through, okay? They went through stuff that we can't hardly even fathom, but they just kept on in their faith, and they continued on. Okay, and then comes the problem that so many of us can suffer with. He said, yeah, I hold this against you. You have forsaken your first love. That somehow these people that were like, that there seem to be doing the right things, they've forgotten their love for God. They've forgotten that they have forsaken this, that they were either churchy or religious or whatever you want to call that. They knew what to say and how to say it and that kind of thing, but they lost their first love, their love for God. And I think that we can do that. We get so busy and caught up in our day-to-day life that we forget about our first love. We forget about our love for him. And then he tells them what to do. He says this, remember the height from which you have fallen. Repent, that means now it's time to change. And do the things you did at first. You do the things you did at first. I don't know if you remember when you first got saved. Now, for me, I was saved when I was like 7, okay? And then like 7.5, and then 8. And every time they talked about hell in children's church, I got saved again. But no, I was originally saved in about 7 years old. But when I was in high school, I remember a very specific time in my life when I just really fell in love with the Lord in a much deeper way than I had ever had. I mean, I believed him, but there was just this love for him. And in that, there were some things that just came up in me that I just wanted to do. And I like to call them the first things, or the things that you do at first. And one of those was worship. I mean, after that moment, when I just remember I went home I had been at an event, and I came home, and I just wanted to worship him. For the first time, I got worship music on CDs, okay? And I had some tapes too, but anyways. And some tapes and some CDs, and I'm telling you, worship music wasn't that good like back then. But I just wanted to, and in my own room for the first time in my whole life. Okay, I'd been a Christian for a long time, but I just had this love. I wanted to worship him. I so looked forward every week to my opportunity to come to church and worship. I just could not wait for the worship time to begin. I wanted to be in his presence. And the more I was in his presence, the more my love continued to grow. And they worked together. And here's another one. It is his word. I just had this desire to know more about him. For some reason, this thing that I thought was boring began to come alive to me, and I began to see him speaking to me, and I wanted to know more. And maybe you can remember a time when you just wanted to know what this said and wanted to get to know it. And as we return to that, as we return to looking at his word, your love, your knowledge of him is going to grow. And then the last one was this, ministry. Now, it really bothered me that the first two started with a W, and then this one didn't start with a W, so I was like working on it, and I was like, well, I could have done witness, okay? So if you're one of those, and that would make it better for you, because we're talking about, sharing your faith and doing that, but ministry is actually better for what I'm actually trying to say, so I'm going to leave that, and it is just the W, just anyways. This is my ADD brain when I'm preparing, okay? But here's what, this is something that happened in me. When I really fell in love with Jesus, I wanted to share. I wanted to help others fall in love with him. And that played out in different ways. I wanted to serve in different ways in my church. And I was a teenager at the time, which meant I began to do more in my youth group and reaching out to people. I see somebody new come in and I wanted to help them and help them. And I actually started to bring people from my school for the first time in my life. I always talked about, bringing somebody to church. I was like, whatever. And I wanted to, okay? I just wanted others to know. And here's what I'm saying. These things, if you feel cold in your love for him, return to them. Because it kind of works like this. I was like, do you do these things because you love him, or do these things help you love him? You see what I'm saying? Yes, it's both. Okay? When you love him, you do these things. But if you begin to do these things, you spend time in his presence, begin to read his word, begin to help others get to know him, your love for him will grow. It will grow. And so what you need to do is begin to do these things and to focus on them, and your love for him will grow. Here's some good news. We're loving somebody that loves us back. And his love for you is great. In fact, do you remember the story of the treasure I read a while ago, finding the treasure? So I was thinking about that verse, and I was like, well, what if I read it wrong, and I still don't really know the right way? But, and that is that what if you're the treasure? And what if God looked down, and in the earth, he saw you, and then he gave it all. He gave his one and only son to die on a cross for you. Why? So that he can have the treasure that is his relationship with us. That he desires a relationship with us so much that he gave it all so that he can be with us. You see, we love because he first loved us. You can love him. Why? Because he loved you. And if you can grasp his love for you, if you can remember how much he's forgiven you of and what he's done for you, your love for him will grow. And I want you to know that to him, you're a treasure. But I want you to know he is your greatest treasure. And so let's pursue that love. What we're going to do is we're going to have a short time of prayer to end our service. And I first want to say this. If you don't have a relationship with God, I want to invite you to begin that today. If you do not know him as your Lord and Savior, I want to invite you to begin that today. And this is how. In just a moment, there will be some people down here to pray with you. And when we're singing, I want to ask you to come down and just tell them, hey, I want to begin a relationship with Jesus. And as you pray and you put your faith in them, we're going to believe that love, relationship, that treasure will be found, and you're going to begin something new. So if you are far from him, you don't have a relationship with him, I want to just encourage you to step out and let somebody pray with you. But I know this also, all of us need to grow in our love for God. All of us fail in this area. All of us have divided hearts at times. We pursue our other things. We forget about him. We get busy with life. And this time, let's just take a moment. Can we just at least for the next 2 minutes worship him and just reignite our love for him and ask him to build that up in us, because it is a life-changing love that will make you do everything different that you do in your life.